Hi, everyone, and welcome to TARDIScuss. It's episode 9, and we are discussing It Takes You Away. Tonight, we have got a lot to talk about, and we have got so much to dive into. Tonight, I am drinking a Perrier flavored strawberry. Um, I've got our question of the week. We've had some very heated debate over this, which is what is our least favorite episode? And you may think we are going to, play to the trolls on this one, but we really tried to put some great thought into this. So while Lorena and Lara think about this, I'm going to say mine is the 2012 Olympic one, Fear Her. I did not love that one, where the girl draws and things come to life, and about the abusive father. That was just absolutely my least favorite one. Lara, what was your least favorite episode?
Hey guys, so I am Laura. Tonight I am drinking a ginger beer. It's nice and just plain ginger beer because I'm lame. And my least favorite episode is Let's Kill Hitler. Um, I have no problem with killing Hitler. I think that's a great idea. But I just thought that the acting was really poor. I love River Song. She's my favorite. Everybody knows this, but it was just a bad episode. Lorena, how about you?
Hey everyone, it's Lorena. I am drinking some concoction I made mostly with juice and tequila. It's pretty good. My least favorite is Victory of the Daleks from Amy's first season. It's her third episode. And I just am, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm just tired of London Blitz, World War II episodes. And I don't think that's a fault of Doctor Who in particular, but it's like all British shows. And I just I'm tired of Churchill. Like, I'm jaded on it. Maybe that's it. And I also thought that the like Pez dispenser candy Daleks looked so stupid compared to how cool the like British flag Dalek looked. And so I was just very all in all, I love Daleks, and I thought it was pretty lame redo for them. So it had all the bad things and very little of the good things.
And for those of you listening to the podcast replay, I just need to point out, if you're not watching this on the Google Hangout, Lorena behind her actually has To Victory with a Dalek right behind her. So it's really kind of ironic that this is her least favorite episode when that is what is actually right behind her. So I find it amusing.
I also have 2 Daleks from that episode. These were like my first action figures. So this is the bad one, and I think my husband bought it for me, not knowing that I thought it was heinous and ridiculous. And then this is the great one. I think it's called an Ironside or something like that. And it's just so adorable. Like, how can you not want this in your house? And then they exploded it. So it's disappointing.
And this is your least favorite episode?
Yeah, but it was like when I first started watching. So it was like kind of like not my introduction to Daleks, but like my, first new episode that hadn't already come out with Daleks. And they like blew them all up. And I was just like, why?
Okay.
Why would you kill such a great creature to like a cool looking model to replace it with this? Like, and they quickly knew they fucked it up because they got rid of that right away. So kudos to the people, but you didn't even have to go there. So anyway, let's move on.
You got it. You got it. Anything else you want to add or move on to the next section, Lorena? Okay.
No.
So in before we move on, there is in the world of action figure news. Lorena, did you want to talk about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten that happened. So they have just announced that the 5.5-inch figure, which is like this size, this is Amy, is coming out of the 13th Doctor, this Doctor, and sorry, Amy's falling. And so there's already a 10-inch plus the Barbie, which we all know my feelings on that. But they are releasing a 5.5 from Character Options. I think that's what they're called. And I think it's on pre-sale right now. It comes out like January 4th or 9th. I don't remember which. And it's through Forbidden Planet, but the UK one, I haven't done thorough research for the US site version of that. So maybe UK only for now, but just a heads up. And it's pricey because that's what they like to do, is exploit us. So get your wallet out.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's talk really quickly about the guest stars on our episode. We've got Ellie Walwork, who played Hannah on this episode, It Takes You Away. And we also have Christian Rubik, who played Hannah's dad. And then we will get into a few of the others a little bit later. But Laura, did you want to start on Ellie?
Yes. So I thought Ellie was amazing. And I appreciated that they actually took the time to cast someone who is visually impaired. I used to work with a student who is now actually a friend of mine, who was visually impaired. It was my job to kind of guide her, write down any notes in class, that sort of thing. She was in high school and I was like 2 years out of high school. I don't know why the school board decided it was a good idea to hire a 19-year-old to work in a high school. But they did. And it was really cool meeting her, and she taught me Braille. I have a Braille typewriter, and I just, through her, got introduced to this really cool world. And it pisses me off when people are portraying visually impaired people and they are not visually impaired themselves. The way that a visually impaired person moves, talks, their gestures, everything is so different that it just pisses me off. I feel like it's almost a mockery. And if you're not going to do it correctly, just don't do it, because it's insulting. I did do not too deep of a dive on Ellie because I didn't have the time, but I did kind of look her up. I went on the IMDb. I listened to some of her YouTube videos. She sings. She's an amazing singer, songwriter. So if you have the time to check her out on YouTube, I definitely recommend it. And I hope that we get to see more of her. I probably won't get to see more of her in Doctor Who, but just more of her in general, because I think she was a phenomenal actress and she did a great job. So, especially in a very physical role. So, good for her.
Lorena, what did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I really liked her. I liked her character, and I thought she acted it really well. I had no idea she wasn't Norwegian. She's British, because she did such a good job with the accent that it was totally believable, to the point that when I looked her up, I was expecting her to be Norwegian and or like some form of Scandinavian at least. And she wasn't. So that was pretty cool. and I did listen to her music too. It's like not professional recording quality, but she is really good, and she has a good like sense of humor. She's very British in her videos, I think. So it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was pleased to see that the diversity extended beyond, just, race and gender to include somebody who was also um, would fall under the disability category, to somebody who was visually impaired as well. So I really liked that. Um, Christian Rubek, he is from Norway, so maybe he perhaps helped with her accent. And the only thing, when I did look him up, he was in a film called There's Something About Monday, and I don't know if either of you have seen that, but it is with the girl, her name is Numi Rapace, and she was in the original, the girl with the dragon tattoo and things like that that came over. Um, and I loved There's Something About Monday because it was about septuplets or something like that. It was fantastic. So, and I didn't realize he was one of the guys that was in there, and I loved that film. So, watch that movie if you have the chance. But let's not delay because we have so many things to get into the TARDIS about. So this episode, It Takes You Away, written by Ed Heim and directed by Jamie Childs. On the edge of a Norwegian fjord in the present day, the Dr. Ryan, Graham, and Yaz discover a boarded up cottage and a girl named Hannah in need of help. What has happened here? What monster lurks in the woods around the cottage and beyond? Really quickly, did either of you see A Quiet Place? I don't do scary movies, so no, I didn't. You both are shaking your heads no. I saw the trailer and it scared me to death, and I feel that this had a little bit of that same creepy factor once I saw the house and sort of how it was boarded up. So I just felt it had a little bit of that creepy factor.
Wasn't the daughter in that played by a hearing impaired person?
She was, yeah.
Okay.
So,
so it's like
it has a
interesting.
little bit, it has a little bit of the same. So she doesn't know if she's making any noises, which is, the sort of the counter, not a counter thing, but there's, I feel, similar themes or something. Maybe that's why I felt it might have fallen under the same umbrella. But Lorena, why don't you give us your rating of this episode?
Okay, so I gave it 9 out of 10 Tardai. I love this episode. I think this was my favorite episode of the season, which is, I mean, I really loved last week's episode. So this one was just a complete 180, I think, of last week's episode, which was really fun. Like, not fun, but like fast, and like the pacing was, they're totally different episodes. This one didn't have a lot of humor in it, but it had that psychological factor that I had been missing. And it really had that like creepy factor that I love to get, because you really felt like there was this weird alien monster lurking outside the cabin, and they had all these bear traps, and then it just went in this whole other like direction that was not expected at all. I thought that, the whole thing was really just an interesting idea. I definitely had to dock at a point because it had too many good things that weren't connected or explained, specifically ribbons. And like the anti-zone I was fine with, but we just spent so much time in it without like needing to ultimately. And I thought that like the themes I really enjoyed on the like with this episode, with like they were just looking at grief in a really like powerful way. And what's the other theme? Is I have it listed somewhere else. It was just like the weird sci-fi element, like having a conscious universe, not able to like tap into the other universe. I thought like the theme of grief and then loneliness sort of playing together, like that the universe was using grief as a trap, essentially, was really interesting, like psychologically. But then we wasted all this time with ribbons to get a bunch of exposition we didn't need. And then when we learn about what the soul attracts is, like that's a lot of exposition, which is kind of, I would say one of the things I don't like about this doctor is how much she talks about the thing that no one knows about because it doesn't exist. And so she has to explain it to you. And I feel there's just cleaner ways to do it than they've been doing it. But at least she's consistently annoying like this, right? So at least it's a consistent trait. But I did dock it for those. The concept was so cool to me that I ranked it pretty high. I think if it wasn't as cool, this would probably be a lower than 9 Tardi for me, because the parts that didn't get explained enough or didn't work overall were just weird. Like they were just not good enough. I don't know. That part was just disappointing. So I had to take off for the whole, any time spent with ribbons. Though his death was epic. I will say that. So, yep, 9 out of 10. Keep it psychological. I'm into that. What about you, Laura?
I gave it an 8 out of 10 Tardi. I would have given more, but ribbons. Otherwise, this was a great episode. Hannah was great. I loved her. I wish we had had more of her. And I thought that the flesh moths were adorable. Those were so cute with their little fuzzy stuff. Like, that was cute. And I liked ribbons. But I just felt like we needed more information about how Ribbons got there, why he chose to stay there, how he survived there. All these things that would have made having him in the episode matter would have been good. But we didn't get any of that. We just got this guy sitting in the anti-zone waiting for people to go through the portal. And it just, I don't know, it just really didn't add up to me. And I felt like, honestly, it was lazy writing. They needed something quirky and different and something that could explain it. And to me, that was just, it could have been done in a different way. Or if you wanted to go that way, just made it better. But I liked the solo track. I thought it was a really cool idea. And I still thought it was a cool idea even when it was a frog that was talking and then its little froggy hand comes up and like pushes her out. I still thought it was a cool idea. But, once again, it's like I wish we had, if we had taken away the time that we had with ribbons and the anti-zone and the flesh moths, we could have had more time with the doctor and the solo track, and we could have explored that. Literally an entire universe we could have explored, but we didn't because we had ribbons and the flesh moths. Those two deserved their own episode, but I'll get into that later. But I don't know. I wish they had been a little bit more creative and a little bit more thought-provoking instead of taking the easy way out. Emily, what did you think?
So, I'm giving this 7 out of 10 Tardi. And I'm going to go back to Brady's comments from a couple weeks ago and how he said, I want to get some more time in the TARDIS. And the episode opens, and they're already outside of the TARDIS, and the Doctor is eating dirt. And that bothered me. I'm sorry, it did. I was just like, this is it's a little frustrating that, there was some exposition about a spa that gets low TripAdvisor ratings and some other things that I was like, why are we sort of wasting our time on this comedic relief when there were other things that we needed to get to? Looking back on it, it's like, why are we wasting our time on eating dirt when there's other things that we got to get to? I knocked a few TARDIS off because of ribbons, which we'll get to, and the frog, which we'll get to. I did like the episode because there was adventure and some great things that really felt like a behind the sofa episode. There was tension and there was an adventure. I just wished some of the storylines had been a little bit more fleshed out. I wanted there to be more in the anti-zone because it was built up so much and then it was sort of fell flat. And I, for the first time, felt that there were too many companions. Almost like Yaz was just an extra, and I really didn't like that because I really like her. And I was like, wait, what did she do? What was her purpose? As I was trying to remember all the things that she did, because she just was superfluous. She didn't have a reason to be in this episode. And that's sad because I really think she's a lot of fun. So those are my issues with the episode. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good episode. I just wish they could have done some more. It just needed another round of edits, I feel. And as somebody who edits for another person on this panel, I'm like, nope, go back, write some more. We need to cut some more out of this. So, but let's talk about the character of Hannah. What?
First, I need to counter your dirt point.
Okay.
I agree that there was a lot of, I forgot about the whole spa TripAdvisor thing. That was unnecessary. What I did love about the dirt is that is a very doctory thing to do. The Doctor loves to eat dirt or like lick things, smell things, and then be like, oh, I know what time and place we are.
But usually he just goes and tastes the air or something.
No, I think they can get like down. I definitely like David Tennant's definitely licked rock before and done weird things. So it's not. I thought that was a great little touch. Maybe they could have skipped some of it.
Okay.
Like you were saying, but I did like the actual dirt licking bit, and that she offered everyone else dirt just in case.
I was like, really? I mean, the one thing that Yaz did get was the line that, they tried to throw in there is the reverse the polarity line. And it's like, they threw it in there just to like try to get all the people for Doctor Who, but it's like, why? It means nothing. Okay.
Lazy writing. I agree. I do have things to say about Yaz. It's not a ton, so maybe I'll just say it right now. I see your points on it, but I actually felt like she seems the most companion-y to me the past couple episodes, not because she's been as proactive or like action-based, but because she's been with the Doctor a lot. And then when she's not with the Doctor, it's because she's actively chosen to go explore something to solve the issue because she's a cop. So it's like built into her to do that. And I feel like that's a very companion-y thing. And I think she did that in this episode too. Like she takes on a lot of leadership that when the other two don't.
I agree. I just don't feel that that was shown in the story, and maybe I just wanted her story arc to have some of that I don't feel the writers gave to her.
Okay.
That's what
I
it
felt
is.
like she gave Ryan the advice he needed to handle Hannah. And I think that she gave the doctor the sounding board and conclusion factor that she needed to solve the issue and understand where they were. It was like way too much exposition through dialogue that could have been done cleaner. But that to me were the two main purposes, served. But that does make her very secondary in this. Okay. So I see your point that she felt like there were too many companions in this one. And probably because we liked Hannah so much. And so maybe that's a good segue into Hannah.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Hannah.
I'm up. Okay. So I have a lot to say about Hannah. Hannah was definitely my favorite part of the episode, besides the concept of the conscious universe. I just really liked her, and I liked that she wasn't taking any shit, and so she's essentially the owner of the house at this point because her dad's been gone for 4 days, and she's letting these people in. Well, she didn't let them in; they broke in. And then when she's dealing with them, she's just very I thought she was really brave in putting on a brave face, even though she was clearly terrified of everything happening, that her dad had been gone and they're in the middle of nowhere. Apparently there's a spa nearby with a bad rating, but it's winter, so maybe no one's there. Very not snowy for winter. And didn't seem like anyone was cold, but that's fine. We'll give them that. I definitely liked how Hannah called her dad later in the episode. And I think that she was just really over it with his depression and how it was impacting his ability to be a caretaker for her, basically a father and a parent, and that she understood that he had kind of abandoned her before he went away, right? Before he left in the mirror world. She kind of had already processed that and was angry. And I thought that was really interesting in that they paired her with Ryan, who is having anger with his dad. He also has, a disability, and I thought it was a clever pairing in that they both were able to learn from each other and kind of emotionally grow from each other, and that it was nice. That relationship was the most interesting part of this episode to me, and I thought that both of them were really strong in their roles, and it felt like you really could tell she didn't like him, and she wasn't gonna be shy about that. And I loved that. I thought that was great because she's in this crap situation, and just at the end, he's like, well, if he wanted to keep her in the house, he could have just gotten her Wi-Fi, instead of creating this fictional monster, that hunts at the same time every day. And so I felt like he really got her. And then she ended up appreciating him because he was sort of, a guardian to her, through the episode. He took his role seriously that the doctor assigned him, even though he didn't want to do it at first, and wanted to go with Graham, through the portal. And I thought, even after she knocked him out and went through to go find her dad, basically, he was the one to find her and save her from the flesh-eating moths, and also from discovering this corpse on the ground right in front of her. that, you know, that's gonna impact her in a way she can't come back from. So he was able to avoid her having to go through that experience, and just like really protected her to the level she needed it, but was like too teenage to think she did. I just thought it was really cool, that relationship, and I really loved her. You know, I think that was, I don't know. I really love that. That was the best part of the episode emotionally. Almost. There's one more part that is a little bit better. We'll get to. The other thing that is not a positive, but is a confusion, and maybe you guys can help me here, was why did Hannah keep saying, like, it was kind of in the beginning-ish, when they hadn't discovered the portal yet. She was like under the table, you know, kind of like holding herself like this. And she kept saying it takes you away, which is the only time we got, you know, anything remotely like the title happening, but it didn't have any context. And maybe that's just the story of this episode. But it was like, did you guys have any like understanding of what the heck she was saying it for? Like, the monster takes you away, I guess. It was weird. Anyone?
So I saw your note. So guys, we have like a Google Doc that we write all of our notes in before recording these. And so I saw your note, and I see what you're saying now, that you meant that it was when she was under the table and not just the name of the episode. But I still think that maybe she was saying like, it's like the monster takes you away, the grief takes you away. I feel like she kind of knew that her dad was full of it. But then also, you know, completely unhinged. Her dad was, at least. So I don't know. That was such a good question. Like, I don't know. I'm going to say either death or grief. One or the other takes you away. I wish we had more context for that. Emily, did you have any ideas on it?
Well, seeing your analysis, I mean, the portal takes you away, the grief takes you away from being present. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can analyze this. I think it definitely can do that. The monster could take him away, because that's what she thought it was, because that's what she was hiding from at the present. But I mean, I think on a deeper level, I think it could be, the grief takes you away from being present. You know, if we're gonna psychoanalyze it, I think that I like that, but I didn't think that in the moment until we were talking about it now. So,
Gotcha. I really liked Hannah. I thought she was a really cool kid. She got dealt a really crappy hand in life with, you know, on the dad front, because he was a turd. And I thought it was really good when she was in the solo track with everyone and she hugged her mom and was like, this isn't mom. And her dad didn't want to believe her. And she just kind of called her dad out at that same point in time. Like, you know, teenagers like calling everybody out. So that's not too shocking. But to be in that situation, that you're in like a conscious universe, you're hugging your dead mom, who's really not your dead mom. Like, to still be like, this ain't it, pal. Like, that shows you who Hannah is at her core. And I thought that was a really cool moment. And I liked that about her, that she stayed true to her kind of ball busting, even when in this wild situation. And so it just was one of those times where you're just kind of proud. You're proud of the characters in this season because they're all so good and unique, except for Eric. He's trash. But more on that later. We keep saying that. We have hills tonight, guys. We have some hills that we are going to die on. Or cliffs, right, Emily? Hills or cliffs. But I thought it was a really interesting moment when in the Soul Track, Hannah was like the first kind of non-alien there. So she wasn't the Soul Track, she wasn't the doctor, she wasn't any of the companions like Yaz, who knew kind of what was going on. She was just this teenage girl that got put in this really shitty situation, and she has a disadvantage because she can't see what's happening around her, and yet she saw so quickly exactly what was going on. And maybe not that she was in a conscious universe, but that she was in a place where this person might sound like my mom, but it is not my mom. And that was a cool moment. And it kind of just teaches you that everybody has their own uniqueness and their own power and ability, regardless of any sort of disability or perceived disabilities. And they've done that with Ryan throughout the season with his dyspraxia. But to see them do it with Hannah too, I hope that it just encourages a whole new generation of people, like my friend, and a whole, like, people like me, and us, who we all have our own challenges, and shows like this that just show you that it doesn't matter. You can still just do whatever and be amazing. So that's my rant for the evening.
Well, I'm gonna tag on and say I think she had an advantage in the other world because she couldn't see. And the main, honey in the trap was the visual. And that was what was so impactful for all the characters, that they had to really push themselves to get deeper than what they could see, because of how much they had loved, this person that the universe is impersonating or whatever. So I thought she had like a unique advantage in that situation, that she couldn't see, and the main honey was like, not usable for her. And she was like the first person rejected from the world because of that, that she immediately rejected the world. And then the world rejected her, because it wasn't, advantageous to have incompatibility there. That didn't like it back or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I was like, they're probably going to do that. And so it could have gone like in a bad way, but I thought how she was the whole show, like you said, she kept her ballbusterness and was just like, am I safe here? And her dad's like, yeah. And she's like, I don't know what you are, but you're not my mom. Like, we're not safe here. Like, she just couldn't. And that still wasn't enough for the dad. So, anyway, okay. Yeah, I loved Hannah. Sorry. Okay, not sorry. Lots of energy.
Just not for very long, but for a brief minute, how Laura earlier in the season was having a prejudice towards aliens or androids or
robots,
and yes, really thought that they were going to be the evil person. I was like, for a second, like when she attacked Ryan, I was like, okay, wait, is she the alien? Is she like an alien in disguise? Is she going to be the one who is now going to trap everybody through the portal and close off the portal, and now they're going to be stuck and not be able to get back to the TARDIS? Like, so I had this, I was like, okay, is she really human? Or did an alien take over a little blind girl's body and we don't know this? Like, I was like, that would be some really good writing. And okay, so it wasn't that. But that didn't mean that she wasn't fantastic, because I can't fault her for any of the other say, like, you guys hit on all of her high points and everything that she did fantastically. So I'm not going to repeat anything else that you guys have already said, all of the fantastic things that she did as an actress. So let's talk about Ryan and Graham really quick. And
Yay!
we got
it. Yeah.
we got it without anything devastating actually happening.
Nobody died. Everybody lived, Rose.
We didn't get the fist bump
But
yet. So I'm only 80% fulfilled. I still have a horrible feeling that the fist bump is going to happen during a death scene. And now that I am totally in love with Graham, I'm now worried that it's definitely going to be Graham dying. I like Ryan. I think Tosin is a great actor, but I just really like Graham, and he's great. The man goes around with a sandwich in his jacket because he gets hungry, and he knows that when he gets hungry, he gets cranky. I relate to that on every imaginable level. Every level.
He's the most practical companion because he's like, you know what? We get stuck outside the damn TARDIS way more often than not. So I started bringing sandwiches and make them for free. Like, why wouldn't I?
Exactly.
Mix whatever I want.
Yes.
But yes. I thought it was earned because I know we were worried either someone was going to have this horrific death or other similar death thing. And that it was going to be unearned and we were going to be like, really? But yeah, no, I cried. I was like, oh, he did it. And he did it so like genuinely, like it was just this earnest.
So sweet. And he called him Granddad.
And then he was like, you going deaf in your old age? And I was like, oh, perfection.
It was so sweet. I loved it. And I am happy that we got it. And we got it at a good point. Although I would argue that technically we had to live through Grace dying again to get it, right? Because like she didn't technically die again, but she left us again. Technically, I don't know. I'm getting really, really nitpicky here.
No, I'm angry at Jamie Childs because he did the first episode and he did this episode and he loves Grace, but that's just wrong.
That was not great.
Thank you, Emily. Grace would never leave.
To prove it.
Grace would never leave Ryan in danger.
Exactly.
And I thought, and I loved that because it was like we got to see how much Graham loved Ryan. In that he's like, you aren't Grace. And it's also not acceptable for me not to go chase Ryan and ensure he's okay, because that's my job now. Yeah. And, you know, we can frog chat all you want, but like when it comes to the stuff that really matters, you're not Grace.
Yeah.
So that was,
Frog chat.
I'm going to jump right ahead to monsters because I just hit on one thing, which was about Ryan and Graham in the portal. And the whole episode, once we knew what happened on the other side, once Grace came back, even though it wasn't Grace, I was like so glad Ryan hadn't gone through. And when it looked like him and Hannah were both going to go, I was just like, no. He can't. Like I was just like, Ryan emotionally can't handle going through seeing Gran, and I assume his mom would have been there because that would have been the honey for him as well. And it just was like, oh no, like don't let Ryan do this. And I was really glad they didn't, because I felt like Graham was strong enough to handle it, but Ryan's not. He's just not yet. In a space where he could have. So yeah, that was my feelings on that. And I guess my other one funny thing I want to say was, did anyone else get that feeling when he was like, oh, the flesh-eating moths, yes. And then he had the light, and then the moth, you know, it's attracted to the light. But I was like, is it the light, or is that little balloon thing made out of flesh? Because it was kind of red, which is like, you know, blood, you know, and moisturize me. And I wondered. So I wondered, did anyone else have that wondering during that, long block of time we spent in the anti zone?
I thought it might have been coated with blood. Not that it was flesh, but like that it might have been painted with blood to attract them.
I thought that it could have been flesh. But, who knows what the rules are in the anti-zone, because I have issues with the anti-zone. But I'm going to jump into my little bit here about the monsters of the show. And I honestly really think that the monster in this episode was Eric. I think that was just, oh, God, he was awful. Sorry, I'm trying to read my notes and contain my fury at the same time. But how are you honestly going to tell me that he thought it made total and complete sense to play monster noises and lock his child in a house and then peace out for 4 days? And he even said to the doctor, like, I realize I've been out for too long and I keep wanting to go back, but I just can't. Hannah she's not what do they call it? A shrinking violet? Is that the term that I want? So she's capable. She's tough. You took this capable, tough teenager and you made her so terrified that she was afraid to cook for herself. Like, who does that? Who does that as a father? Like, that's just so wrong. He was just a dick. And I really do hope that in this made-up world of Doctor Who that she reminds him every single day of what a dick he was to her. So, like, when she's, 18 and she wants, like, a Lamborghini or something, and he's like, oh, we can't afford that. And she's like, hey, I remember that time that you locked me in a house and told me monsters were going to kill me if I went outside, and, pieced out to go hang out with fake mom in a conscious universe. And he's like, here's your keys. So there's just something there that, like, you have to be a special kind of asshole to do that to your own child. And he is the real monster. The flesh-eating moths are like the pating, right? Like, they're just living their life. They're doing their thing. It's not really their fault. Ribbons is a monster. He's a bad guy, but we didn't get enough of Ribbons for him to be the true monster of the episode. Because ultimately all he did was just get his own self killed. So that's whatever. But yeah, Eric was totally the monster in this episode. That and the talking frog at the end, because I'm 99% sure I'm going to have nightmares about that at some point soon. So there's that. But Emily, what did you think? Do you agree with my assessment on Eric?
I do feel that Hannah's dad was the true villain. The monsters, the creatures, the, alien things, they're weird, because I feel Ribbons was a better monster creature than the Solitract, because, okay, Ribbons looked way too much like the Sycorax for me, from the Christmas Invasion. And I feel that the makeup department found the old mold and thought that nobody would realize that, so they just poured a couple ones and then painted it a little bit differently. And I didn't really go into the archives and pull up and do a side by side, but I was like, no, that's just lazy makeup department for me. So we've got lazy writing and lazy makeup department. So maybe I have to go back and redo and make it a 6.5. I don't know. Is my TARDI rating set in stone? But yeah, that's why.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought it ended.
Yeah, the flesh-eating moths, they just looked like regular moths that grew up next to, like, Chernobyl or something, because they were giant. So there you go. Do you have anything else random you want to discuss, Lorena?
Well, I was just going to say, I found most of the aliens this season have had a Sycorax vibe to them.
Maybe.
Especially Stenza. Even though they're blue with teeth in their face, they still have that essence of Sycorax to their face, like to their being. And maybe it's just like they're just representing toxic masculinity through the Sycorax mask. I don't know. But it has felt a little repetitive from a prosthetics perspective.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. That notice. And when we actually the actor who played Ribbons had the best voice, because when you saw him, you were like expecting, and he was just like, I'm the gatekeeper and you must pay me, and I'm the troll at the, and I was just like, oh my God, you're so creepy and I love you. But you need to die. And then like when he did die, it was like, okay, well, like you had no further purpose, so of course you were gonna die, but you really didn't have an original purpose either, as it turns out. So why didn't we save you and your great voice for a different episode where we really did need to pass the bridge and you were going to charge us a bartering?
Yeah, I looked up the actor who played Ribbons, and he's actually done a ton of character work, and including 3 episodes of Game of Thrones.
2 different characters
Yeah.
on Game of Thrones.
Who?
I was like,
he was
Kevin Eldon.
Yeah, he was the actor who played Ned Stark in that little like play that they put on. And then he played a soldier too. But I feel like when I read it that his soldier role was because they got like a really close up view of him. So let me see if I can find that again, because it was really interesting when I read that. Kevin Eldon. I'll let you guys talk.
Look at it.
Yeah, when I figure this out.
Yeah. He's done, a couple of other things, and I was just like, okay. He was in The Last Kingdom. He's done a couple of other things, and I was just like, okay. So, I mean, we didn't really talk much about him under our other guest stars, but I don't know. Yeah. So the other thing, I mean, I guess we already talked about Grace showing up after all this time, but um, I'm surprised that this. I almost said the stanza. Can we wait? One thing about the stanza, they said in episode 1 or maybe 2 that the stanza felt like we thought that they would be like the recurring villain, or that we'd hear more about them, and we got nothing.
I think it'll be in the finale.
I guess.
Because the finale is a battle, so I feel like we're gonna get something with them. If they don't bring the Stinza back for that episode, then this season has sucked. Sorry, like that would just be really, really, really bad show running chips.
Yeah.
So you better have shot that. Yeah. I will deal with the teeth, especially if it's dying. All right.
But we had, we had the doctor there, and she's also had so much loss. I'm surprised that nobody else showed up for her. Like, if it was a conscious universe, Grace showed up. No,
because the mirror lured Graham to it. And so it was like the portal, part of the trap was that the portal could sense the person perhaps with the most grief.
Got it.
Or the most like current raw grief. And I think that, I guess Ryan maybe it knew that Ryan wouldn't be the best candidate to bring in.
Got it.
And that was what I understood from how it works, because Graham was the only one who could like get drawn to it when they were in the room.
Okay, I can dig that. Well, let's let's talk about our episode hills we'll die on. Lorena, do you want to start?
I would love to start. We've mentioned this frog, and we've mentioned Grace, and we have mentioned Graham, but we have not mentioned how ridiculous this frog was. And I am just gonna announce my hill is that this frog is the laziest ass writing ever, because it had no existence in any form or comment, episode, plot point, visual cue. We have never seen this damn necklace before. No one's mentioned a frog or a toad, amphibians, anything like that. No frog, no tadpole, like no version of frog. We haven't even really talked about a swamp. Like, there is no reason a frog should be coming up as a topic. No one's even like, oh yeah, this rare tree frog has a poison that can save this species. No frog mentioned at all. And it wasn't like Grace was all, oh yeah, let me casually mention frogs to Ryan while the doctor is passed out on our couch. Nothing. No frog, nothing. There weren't frog pictures in their flat, nothing. So for Graham to be suddenly wearing a frog necklace, fine, that's fine. I don't care if it had like literally no purpose other than them to have a conversation piece in this moment. Except no, like, it's Grace. Sorry, she's probably the best character to die for many seasons. And you can't cheapen her with this frog bullshit. And I was so pissed about that. And I felt like as soon as the frog showed up in that white room and we got the whole like frog doctor conversation, I was just like, you know what? Ed probably was like, I want a conversation between the doctor and a frog. Shit, I got to write a whole episode around that. How am I going to do that? Like, literally, that's what I thought. I thought Ed sat down with this just love of frogs. Fine, Ed, that's fine. Make a frog invasion then. Like, why are we doing this? And it was just like, I'm okay with her talking to the frog at the end. I'm okay with that. Using Grace's voice, not appropriate. Find another friggin' actor. You have enough money. And just like, why? Just why? Like, I don't have anything for or against frogs, but I do have something very against lazy writing, especially when you have such a cool idea of a conscious universe and you're throwing it away on some emotional claptrap bullshit when all we want is fist bump and you're giving us a frog necklace? No. So yeah, I'm already dead on this damn hill. Take that frog back.
That is probably one of my favorite moments of our entire TARDIscuss thing is watching you have this emotional frog soapbox. And I gotta be really honest with you, it was glorious. And thank you.
Y'all are laughing still? I haven't started laughing, even after laughter. Because I'm so friggin' mad.
You have every right to be.
Frogging mad, guys. I am frogging mad. All right.
So you
get on your hill.
You didn't appreciate the froggy Jedi mind trick push thing that it did to get the doctor out?
I loved that. That was great. I loved the frog at the end. I just wish we didn't have to have some cheapening of Grace and Graham to arrive at that frog. If the conscious universe loved frogs, be a frog. That's fine. It could have been totally random. Like, it didn't need to have any context to Grace or Graham at all. It could have been a fox chatting and it would have been fine. A frog. It could have been anything. Like, we've had voice boxes that are dead Time Lords. Like, I'm cool with whatever you want to give us. Just don't cheapen another character's love, death, or grief in the process.
Hey, I get it. I get it. Do you hear that, Ed? Do you hear that? You better take some notes. take some notes. I have 2 hills that I am willing to die on tonight. Maybe not as strongly as Lorena and the frog, but I think that her points are extremely valid because it was ridiculous. So my first hill that I will die on is the fact that they wasted Ribbons and the flesh moths on the anti-zone and basically use these 2 super cool concepts as exposition and for nothing. Like, how pissed off would you be if you were in the special effects department and they were like, you're going to spend the next 10 hours putting this makeup and suit and all this stuff on this guy for what's basically just nothing? Like, I would be pissed. I thought the whole vibe that Ribbons with his lantern gave off was like a weird /Killer Clowns from Outer Space / Little Monsters from the 90s. Y'all know what I'm talking about. / like Jim Henson Workshop sort of looking thing. And I thought it was so cool. And they ruined it. So, because just like you said, Lorena, on lazy writing, like there's no reason to be a lazy writer when you have all this great material and you're just going to phone it in. Like that it is infuriating, especially as a writer. It is like, you just don't do that. Like, if you're going to half-ass it, then half-ass everything. You don't come up with super cool stuff just to, and the other hill that I am willing to die on tonight is, how in the hell did the portal get in Eric's mirror? Like, how did that happen? How did the soul attract know to go to Eric? Because he's surely not the only human being on planet Earth that is lonely and grieving and going through a really tough time. Like, that pissed me off. Like, you're not even going to try to explain it? Did I miss that? Like, I don't feel like I missed it, but
I don't think you missed it because they didn't explain pretty much anything in this episode.
Except for unnecessary things that we would have gotten without them explaining.
Exactly. Or just like inventing a 7th grandmother, whatever. No, but I think my interpretation of this hill you're on was that the house already was the portal, like the mirror already was there. And then he, in his like insane grief, moved them from Oslo to the middle of nowhere and into this house because it was super, super cheap because nobody wanted to live there because it had a creepy ass portal in it. And then the anti-zone was like, oh shit, we can't have these things touching. Like, we need to exist now to separate it. And so the only reason the anti-zone was there because the soul attract couldn't touch. So it was like, it might have started out this far apart and then became this cavern of, flesh-eating moths. Like, how they got there, unknown, and how what's-his-face got there, unknown. Anyway, that was my interpretation, was that they found cheap housing to live in to try to get away from their house in Oslo that they kept. By the way, they didn't sell it. They kept that flat and were moving back. That's how cheap this house was, that they could keep their flat in Oslo. So I would say it's a haunted ass house in that it had a creepy portal to a non-stable universe that was conscious.
So like the Craigslist ad that he saw, I'm going to assume it's Craigslist because all creepy things happen on Craigslist. TripAdvisor, sure.
Because of the spa.
Yeah, had like a psychic thing to it that just attracted this trash bag of a human being and like
Himalayan crystals.
Yeah. Like, okay, cool. But while I am bitching about the anti-zone and ribbons and the mobs,
Upyard. Sorry. Matt Upyard with his crystals.
Matt Upyard with his crystals. Sorry. No, it's fine. Right. I am going to throw in real quick that it was also, by the way, complete and total bullshit that Ribbons had a second lantern hidden away that he didn't pull out when the moths went to like attack him. That lantern that Ryan.
Oh, I thought that the lantern fell off and then it came back to light.
No, it was like a
Once the-
second one that was like down in like a little thing, and they like pulled it out, and he was like, "Oh, look at this!" Like, why? It wasn't even.
I thought it was the same one.
I don't know. I got the impression that it was the second one because that pissed me off, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But
that makes Ribbons better though.
That he had a second lantern.
Yeah. Light is so
He had a
rare.
second knife, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light is rare. It's an uncommon good here.
Right, but it wasn't glowing the first time they went around, and it was definitely like buried down in the thing. I don't know. The anti-zone makes anti-sense. So
the other light comes on.
The anti-zone is living firmly between a good idea and a good idea, and they're like, we're going to put this bad idea in the middle so that these two good ideas can't come together and make an amazing episode. That's what they did.
Most highly paid special effects people create stuff for this bad idea.
Yes. Sorry, Emily, what's your hill?
So since this took place in Norway, and on a fjord, and a fjord is a narrow inlet by the sea between high cliffs, I'm calling them my episode cliffs, and not a hill. And I'm calling this is the little known book by C.S. Lewis, The Frog, the Mirror, and the Wasted Ribbons. So you've touched on all my hills or cliffs, and I am now dead on them. I really don't think I can do the frog any better justice than Lorena has done. The mirror, I mean, break the damn mirror. Make sure the mirror is broken on one side and the other. Ribbons, I really did think we should have stopped in the anti-zone. I thought that was the better place to have this. I really there's so many places, like when Graham went back to the house to clean out the house after Grace's funeral, pick up the necklace there, show him putting it on. You're both gesticulating, right? I know, show him putting it on. See it fall out from something. There's so many different times that you could have seen that necklace appear in so many different ways when he's falling, and there are just so many different throwbacks that you could have filmed this. And I know not all episodes are filmed or written before they are filmed, but they're at least planned out. You know enough in advance, hey, this is what I'm thinking of writing about that far out. You need to throw this little bit in there. They all talk to each other in a writer's room. The showrunner's job is to make sure story arcs work all the way through. That if this is important in episode 9, that you see it in episode 1, in episode 2, in episode 3. That is this showrunner's job. So sorry, Chibs, if you're not making sure those things happen, that means you're not doing your job. So I'm just saying, I am a
You're not wrong.
I'm sitting in showrunner panels, so
yes. I've sat in Chip's panel, and I thought he seems like he would have this shit under control. I'm not saying this, but at least Moffat would have put the damn thing in an earlier episode. And he would have done it in an annoying way, and we wouldn't have Grace under him. So, what are we even talking about? But if you know you need the doctor talking to a frog, but you need a reason why it's a frog, you don't, by the way, because this is Doctor Who, so you can do whatever the hell you want. Put the damn frog necklace in. He's been back to the house more than one time. We've seen him. He could have been looking at everyone, pulled out his necklace, and is like, I can't stay in that house. Tuck it back in. What was that? Some necklace. I don't know. We see it in this. We're like, oh my God, it's the necklace from episode 2. Wow, they planned this. No, they didn't, because this shit came out of nowhere.
This shit came out of a bowl or maybe a pipe or a fancy little rolled up something or other, and they're all sitting around and they're like, you know, it's a great idea. The doctor talking to a frog in a conscious universe. And that's how it all started. And that's how you end up with this. Like, guys, thoughts that you have when you're high don't necessarily make things better in real life. Just make that a little PSA for the night, okay?
I mean, even when Moffat was, before he was showrunner and he had only written a few under Russell T Davies, he threw some things in there that then appeared when he was showrunner. So if Chibs had wanted to do that, he could throw back to episodes he had written when he was just a writer and not the showrunner. That is something, those are things that you can take. That's what you can do when you are in that role. And it's like, come on, we are a smart audience. We've stuck with this show this long. Give us a break.
Be better.
Be best.
Be best.
Sorry.
I don't get this reference, just for all viewers.
Oh, we'll tell you offline.
Okay. Sorry, viewers. You don't know either. Or you do know, and I'm just lame. It's possible.
No, it's our dear First Lady's anti-bullying. Be best.
Well, now I know why I don't know it. Okay. Never mind, viewers.
Okay.
Never mind.
Viewers, listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this frog trip. Because it's been crazy. Next week is our season finale in the Battle of Ranskor of Kolos. Answering 9 separate distress calls, the Doctor and team arrive on the remnants of a brutal battlefield on the planet of Ranskor of Kolos. I'm just probably saying that wrong. This planet has many secrets, an amnesiac commander, mysterious mists. Who or what are the Ux? I don't know. A deadly reckoning awaits the Doctor and team once they have the answers. Well, I forgot, who are the teeth people?
The
Stenza.
They're not mentioned here, so
they might be the Ux.
Yeah. Also, going off of the whole Game of Thrones reference that we did earlier, the guest star of this episode played Robert Baratheon, which I think I just butchered, in Game of Thrones. So there you go.
Yeah, Mark Addy.
Yeah, he was also in A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger back in the day.
And I think, wasn't he in Love Actually?
Yeah.
He was Bill Nye's manager, I think.
Yeah. Didn't he have like an earring? Or maybe Bill Nye had an earring.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. I gotta rewatch that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's hilarious.
So so good. Next week's gonna be good.
Mark Addy.
No frogs.
I hope that could be the Ux.
Yeah.
Unless they're the Ux, the Ukes.
Ux.
We will join you back here, hopefully with no frog rants. Thank you for sticking with us, and we will talk to you guys later. Have a great night.